We've all heard the stories about Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas taking bribes and grifting money for a long time. Well, I've got two stories that predate those stories. One goes as far back as the 1980s. At the time, Clarence Thomas was the head of the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Now, he had a girlfriend back then, prior to Ginny, and he wanted to go on a nice little vacation in the Bahamas. Well, that sounds nice. And apparently, he had a wealthy buddy who wanted to extend some hospitality and paid for that vacation. And guess what? Clarence Thomas didn't report it. Now, he wasn't a judge at the time, but he was a government official, and he still needs to report it, but he didn't. And then later on, after he is a federal judge, he decides he wants to marry that beautiful and vivacious Ginny Thomas. Oh, what a lucky guy. So he's marrying Ginny, and apparently another one of his billionaire BFFs said, "Hey, I'll pay for your reception." A federal judge can't afford to pay for his own wedding reception? Anyway, the billionaire buddy pays for it, and guess what? He doesn't report that either. Now, this got me thinking. We've got Judge Alito, we've got Judge Clarence Thomas, we got Supreme Court Chief Justice John Robert, all with these BFFs that happen to be billionaires that love to extend hospitality. I mean, what's this about? Is there some app that matches up Supreme Court justices with sugar daddies? Swipe left, swipe right? Kind of a Tinder or Grinder for Supreme Court justices? Well, it turns out that's not the case. The fact of the matter is there's this elite club where wealthy people get together with Supreme Court justices. It's called the Horatio Alger Association. That's an interesting name. I've heard the name before, but I didn't know anything about Horatio Alger. So I Googled that shit. Alger wrote a total of 18 novels for youth between 1867 and 1873. He's an author. Now, the most famous book he ever wrote was called Ragged Dick. That's funny. Now, his storylines followed a similar path. A young man living in poverty overcomes the odds by living an honest life and working hard. Well, that sounds nice. Now, the villains in these books were wealthy bankers, lawyers, and country squires. Well, that sounds fucking ironic, doesn't it? Because the very people that were villains in those books are the motherfuckers infesting that club and paying off Supreme Court justices. Wow. Fucking wow. We've got to deal with Clarence Thomas, Alito, John Robert, and all those motherfuckers making bank just because of their position.